Hello, my name is Mark Wiles, and I'm Director of CFNC Pathways at the University of North Carolina System Office. Our team focuses on the Plan and Apply tools on CFNC.org, and here you'll see an illustration of all that are part of this collaboration called CFNC to improve college access for our North Carolina students. Today, we're going to be focusing on the CFNC Professional Center, and you'll see the 8 parts of our agenda. We're going to begin with an overview, what the Professional Center is all about. We'll show you how you can get into some of the detailed resource documents, the documentation, that's number 2. We're going to look at how you can find students, create and find groups, that's in the 3rd section. Viewing student portfolios, another popular feature of the Professional Center because of the depth that it allows you as you're viewing your students' activities. Creating reports. We'll take a look at administration tools. This would not be applicable for everyone in a school setting, but for one or perhaps more people in a given school or organization, I would recommend having someone there with the administration access. Communication tools, and then we want to allow time for questions at the end. So let's begin with this question. What is the CFNC Professional Center? This image provides you an overview of the features from students and groups through the reporting, resources, and communication. Now, what's nice about the organization here is, as you'll see in a moment, the Professional Center is set up with tabs that have these names. So I would encourage you at the outset, if perhaps you have not had a Professional Center account before, and you're just logging in and getting started, to familiarize yourself with the major tabs and what you can do in each of those. It gives you, I think, a great suite of resources as you are seeking to manage your career and college planning program for students in your school or your organization. Now, many of us spend most of our time on the main part of CFNC.org, and I have met a number of educators who are not familiar that there is a separate site for educators called the Professional Center. So on the main site for students, CFNC.org, a student account can begin in middle school, and it can follow that student through high school, through college, and into adulthood. One important point is that the account belongs to the student. It is something that can follow them to any school. So it does not depend upon a school or district purchase decision because the tools we're talking about here are free across the state of North Carolina. So that is, I think, one key advantage, this portability across the state. Now, the Professional Center is at procenter.cfnc.org. This type of account can be requested by any North Carolina educator, middle school through college. It can also be requested by youth-serving organizations. The Emily K. Center, for instance, is one organization that has after-school programs that we've worked with in the past. Workforce Centers is another example of a non-school organization. The account, Professional Center account, is accessible only if you are employed by a school or youth-serving organization. So if someone moves out of employment, then that account would go dormant. They would not have access. The connection between student accounts and your Professional Center account is an automatic one, as long as the student has your school or organization selected as a connection in their CFNC account. Now, there are a couple of ways this connection could happen. Number one, it could happen when they initially create their CFNC account. So on the home page, you'll see there, it says create an account. If they click that, it will ask some basic information about them, including their school. And as they go through that process, if they choose your school, then the connection is made. The other way this connection could happen is by the students signing into CFNC and editing their connections. And I'll show you what this looks like. Students will need to go to My CFNC, Your Profile, and then the basics. Let's take a look at what this path looks like. So here I'm a student. I've already logged in. I go to My CFNC and then Your Profile. When I click on the basics, it pulls up this page. And when I scroll down just a bit, I see my account is connected to, and there's my primary connection, John M. Moorhead High School. And you can see just beneath that the ability to add another connection. I can also change this connection, you'll see there to the right. So that is how, if you are working with a student who you want to have access to and currently that's not working, this is how you would guide a student to check their connection to make sure it is your school or your organization, or maybe to have them add. Now for you, requesting a professional center account is very easy. You can simply email us at cfnc@northcarolina.edu. We ask that you put PAC request in the subject line. That stands for the Professional Access Account Key. And here are the pieces of information that we ask that you share with us. And then the email that you get back will guide you into going to the professional center and actually finishing out the process to have your professional center account created. Some of the key features. Why would you want a professional center account? This is a very high-level view. We're going to look at some details in just a moment. But for those of you who are engaged with students in career exploration, the Professional Center allows you to see who has completed career assessments, to actually view those career assessment results, to review saved career plans and their portfolios. For those of you working with students on applications and high school transcripts, you can see where your students have applied. The easiest way is for them to apply through CFNC.org. That way it's automatic. They can self-report an application. So let's say they're applying to an out-of-state institution, University of Virginia. They can self-report that they have applied there, and that would show up in your professional center as well. You could also see where students have sent their electronic high school transcripts. You can view the status of the transcript, including the transcript type, status, and the transaction ID. We'll take a look at that in a few moments. For the FAFSA, you can even take a look through a special agreement with the North Carolina State Education Assistance Authority. You can take a look at which students have submitted their FAFSA and even issues for completion. So you can troubleshoot that and guide your students. Milestones, you can assign activities to your students and track their completion. So here are just a few of the features that I thought you might like to see at the outset today. There are a couple of ways that you can get to the CFNC Professional Center. The first is to navigate through CFNC.org. So you're clicking there on Education Professional, then going down to the Professional Center link within the Education Professional page, and then you're presented with the Pro Center. You can enter your credentials, click Sign In, and then if you are tied to multiple schools or organizations, this is the point at which you'll have the choice. I choose the one that I'd like to log in for now, click Go, and here I am ready to look at students. The other way is to bookmark procenter.cfnc.org. So I've highlighted the URL here, and you can see what that looks like on the home page again for the Professional Center. Very briefly about documentation, I thought this would be helpful as you first enter the Professional Center. I would encourage you to check out the Resources tab. You can navigate from the top or here in the main part of the page. And a couple of things that I'll highlight here. On the left, you'll see some helpful background on career assessments in the CFNC Professional Manual. So this, I think, is especially beneficial for those of you guiding students to and through the various career assessments, because you have in this document very detailed background about the validity, the background, the reliability of the different instruments, and how you might make use of those in your work. On the right side of this page, you'll see some quick reference guides, and that's another section that I especially wanted to highlight as you get started. Moving now to students and groups. The students section in the Students and Groups tab allows you to find students in several different ways. So let's take a look at what that is like. First, you could simply enter the first or last name of a student, and then I pull up, in this case, everyone that has James as a first or last name. I could browse by class. In this case, I'm clicking on 12th grade, and I can see all of my seniors. I can click on 11th grade in the left nav as well. Moving back to the main tab, I can choose Browse by last name. So here I've chosen B. In the Student Finder, I can enter different characteristics, student characteristics there in the left, and search by those. And then lastly, in the Reviewer, I can look by group. We'll take a look at creating groups in just a moment. But here I see my group I've created, and Audra Allen is one of those students. Now I land on this page called View Student Portfolio, a really helpful page for most educators as they are working with students. We'll get back to that in just a moment, but as we think about groups of students, I'd like to point out the Groups section in this page. It allows you to build and edit your groups. So here, I can view all my groups at the school or just the groups that I have created. So if I view all groups, these could be created by other educators at my school. So I can access those. I can edit at an individual level. For instance, if I want to remove Sally Jones, or if I want to view Sally Jones' student portfolio, it's another way to get there. If I want to build a group, I can select a name. And then I can search for students in much the same way that we saw just a moment ago. I can search by name, by class, or I could search by student characteristics. We'll go back to students and groups here. Okay, so that's a quick view of students, how you can search for them individually, how you can search for them as groups or create groups. Let's move forward to viewing the student portfolios and what you can do with some of this information. We were here just a moment ago looking at Audra Allen's student portfolio, and I think this is the best way to see the details about their assessment results and their portfolio information. Let's take a look at what some of these look like. So the career planning section, notice all that you can find. There are career plans, and we're not going to click into all of these for the sake of time, but getting ready for work section, their work experiences, skills, and all about you is another name for the assessments. So that's the career planning. I could choose high school planning, and here I can see transition plans, career goals while in high school. The index takes me back to the main student portfolio page. College planning, I can click on in the top nav or in the nav in the middle of the page. Can take a look at post-secondary plans, test scores, post-secondary experiences. Back to my index. Here are some of the others. Again, we won't click for the sake of time on all of them, but you can have students upload documents, and you can access them here. This shows a couple of the most frequently used sections. We've already looked in the middle there of the page at career planning, high school planning, and college planning. The other is the account and password functionality to help your students regain access to their account. But also notice here advisors' comments. There are a number of different places within the Professional Center where you can type comments that your students will see when they sign into CFNC.org. So you can type them, for instance, next to a specific career assessment, ask them a question, what they think about, let's say, their Holland codes from the interest inventory. Or you could type comments next to their saved colleges. So that's a feature that I think is also very helpful. Now, a few words about career assessments as we think for a moment about the student experience and what they are doing on the main CFNC.org site, and then through the Professional Center, what you have access to as a professional. On this chart, you'll see the career assessments available by audience. So you can see Pause in Jobland is the one tool that we have for elementary students. For middle school, you can see 12 listed, high school, 9, and for college and adult, 7. Now, there are various reasons, and I won't go into the details here, as to why they're available only for certain audiences. It could be licensing, or it could be the research that's behind these. Perhaps they're not valid for a specific audience. I added this graphic just to illustrate for middle school, especially, what the student experience is like. So for these first 9 assessments, they would access those through the main CFNC.org site in the Plan for a Career section, and then Learn About Yourself. It's that very first link under Plan for a Career. Now, for the middle school focused tools, you can see the user interface there on the bottom where it says Choices Explorer. That interface is also accessed through the main CFNC.org site, and it is through the middle school student role, and they can navigate to the middle school tools, and there are 3 assessments there. Now, the reporting in the Pro Center for these 3 middle school assessments is not currently available, but for the 9 above, they are available in the Professional Center. Here are 2 examples of some other student-focused CFNC.org pages where certain student activities are viewable in the Professional Center. The Application Hub, we'll see what some of those reports look like in just a moment, but this is where students can start or resume an application. You can see this student has begun at Alamance Community College, Appalachian State, and at Barton. They can request a free electronic high school transcript. So this is student initiated, and there's no cost to the student, to the high school, to the college. It's a free service. And not only can they request a transcript, let's say it's in October of their senior year, but it will put a request in queue pending for the end of that school year, so that when they graduate that next spring and final grades are posted, then all of the transcripts that they have previously requested that year will be sent in final stage to those colleges. So that's a real benefit for students who have so many things to think about as they're graduating and getting ready to go to college, and that final transcript is sent. The college search functionality on CFNC allows students to filter based on a number of criteria. It could be type of college, such as 2-year or 4-year, or maybe a certain academic program they're looking for. And when they save a college there, then you as a professional can see all that they have saved. So you might be able to look in, and let's say you're planning a college fair on your high school campus. You could see all the saved colleges, and maybe that would inform some of the colleges you would invite. Let's move now to creating reports. You can create custom reports with the report builder, or you could use some of the ready-made reports. Let's take a look at some of the functionality in the report builder first. So here, class on which to base this report. Once I have confirmed it, I can say use this class for my report. And then I have some ready-made reports within this report builder tool. So there is some basic functionality for choosing, for customizing, and then I have reports ready-made. And as I hover over those, you saw there that I get brief descriptions. Let's take a look at some examples. I'm going to show you these in slide format rather than live, so that we can look at some data that has been scrubbed a bit, so we're not looking at anything confidential. So as I'm looking at, let's go back here, college applications by college, I can choose the date range and then see all the colleges to which my students have applied. So notice, looks like in this case, quite a few applying to Appalachian State University. Here I can look by institution. So instead of just saying what colleges have my students applied to, I can say I want to look at the colleges and then see the students that have applied there. So here I'm looking at all students who've applied to ECU. I see 15 for this group that I have pulled up. Here I can take a look at work interests, or the interest profiler, so a Holland-based tool, and I can see the number of students who have, for instance, social as their top category. That's the percentage of students there. It looks like 75% have social as their top. Now let's take a look at some of the ready-made reports that are right here on the page. So we, a moment ago, clicked on Report Builder. Now I am going to take a look at some of these others just beneath that. So first of all, the CFNC Transcript Tracking Report. Notice I can see the transcript activity for this student. They have submitted a transcript to Appalachian State University tied to this application for fall 2008. Notice there are a couple of transactions. On February 27th, 2018, I see a transaction date. It says it's the current transcript. Notice the transcript type here. It's the current transcript. I see that it is completed, but I don't see that it is yet exported by the college. Now, here's the transaction ID. If the student wanted to contact the institution, they could use that. It does take, typically we suggest a couple of weeks that the students allow for a college not only to download the transcript, because it's there almost immediately, but to download or export the transcript, but then to get it into their student information system, into their tracking system, usually takes some time. So that's one thing that I'll point out that I think is helpful about the transcript transactions. All of these transcripts are free. It's free to the student, free to the school, the high school, free to the college. So it's a service that we want to offer to all of our students here in North Carolina. So I think a real benefit. Now notice in the second line here, we see the transcript type of final, and that is pending. It's because when a student makes a transcript request, not only does it send the current transcript, but it queues up a final transcript to be sent to that institution once final grades from that school are posted. Let's go to another one, back to the Reports tab, and this time I'll show you a shot from the CFNC Transcript Summary Report. Here I'm looking at a number of students, and I can see their transcript activity. So student number, the requested, and which type. Again, we talked a moment ago about current and final. So this is going to Western Carolina. I can see that it was exported by the college the day after it was completed. And then here I have this pending request. So I can scroll through this report for a grade. Here is an example of a Finish the FAFSA summary report. Notice that here I not only see who has completed and who has not completed the process, but I can see the issues that they have run into. For instance, here I see the error reject code, and it breaks those out for me. This is found in the Finish the FAFSA section of the Professional Center. And again, this does require special permissions and agreements for access. Very helpful as you are working on your local Finish the FAFSA campaign. One other section here in reports that I'll highlight very briefly, we won't go into detail, but if you're wanting to take a look at your student activity on CFNC.org, you can look here and take a look at the sessions that they've had, their page views, how many have created accounts on the site. So that could be helpful as you're evaluating your work. A few things about the administration tools within the Professional Center. I'm going to point out here today the planning milestones. And I would, as I mentioned at the outset, recommend that at least one person at every school have access to the administration tab, and you can request that in the same manner you request a professional center account, this is the opportunity for you to set activities, prescribe activities for a given grade. So you could choose up to 18 milestones that students in a given grade would be assigned. They will see those when they log into their CFNC.org account and go to the proper section, and then they can click on those and complete them. Now, not only does it show them what you have assigned them as activities to complete, but then you can run a milestones tracking report to see the activity. Not only by the grade, for instance, let's say 75% of your students have finished the milestones that you have assigned, you could also go into depth. Notice at the bottom here, I could click on Caitlin and then see exactly what she's done, and I could, through the Professional Center, see all those details, just that as we looked at a moment ago in the student portfolio section. Communication tools. The Communication tab allows you to send emails to groups, also to create calendar events that will show up in the student's profile on CFNC.org. So let's take a look at what that is like. If I click on the Communication tab, I'll click Compose New Message. This is where I can select the appropriate group and compose the message. I can also click there to compose a new message, just on the name of the group. I can add an event. You can see I already have one event called Community College Day. And again, this will show up within the student's account when they log into CFNC. Here are a few of the most frequently asked questions that we receive. One of them is about the situation where someone would like access to more than one school or to even all the schools in a given district. And that is permissible if you are either employed by more than one school or organization, or if your employer is actually the district office. Another commonly asked question is about changing schools. What happens to your professional center account? What do you need to do? Please email us at cfnc@northcarolina.edu, and you'll need to request a new professional access account key. At that point, access to your former school will be discontinued. If you have any questions about the Professional Center, we invite you to either email us at questions@cfncresources.org, or feel free to give us a call, 866-866-2362, and choose option 1. We look forward to hearing your questions and suggestions. Again, if we can't answer you today, we look forward to responding by email.